Dr. Grace. And Dr. Grace is also a program lead and a program and impact lead at Adriel Kelling. So anything webinar, research, projects, she's on top of that. Thank you. So let me also welcome Nurse Oluremi Awe. Nurse Oluremi Awe is our care coordinator, looking after all our caregivers and care professionals. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Pleased to be here. My name is Oluremi Awe, a nurse, deputy director in Lagos State Teaching Hospital. I'm a nurse educator. I train nurse interns and students when they are sent for clinical posting. And recently, I have developed passion for the older adults, and that is what linked me up with Age Well Caring. It's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much. So we're going to head on straight to what we are doing today. As a matter of fact, we're talking about aging for a lot of time now. And one thing that we stand for in Adriel Care Link is we want to make sure that what older people need is actually provided, right? That they are actually getting what they need. And without assessment, without us really interacting with them, we can't know what they need. So there's so many cultural myths and perceptions that since we started, we launched November, there have been a lot of miscommunication, or we felt like people misjudging, or they just have a wrong perception about what it means to truly care. A simple example that I will bring forward is when one of our clients approached us, we're looking for a caregiver at home, and one of the caregivers supposedly that we reached out to said, well, I can do the job, but I don't want to be Omodo. So Omodo in Yoruba is like a maid. So, and that really just gives me that mentality that people don't really know how to separate or the boundary caregiving and personal domestic support or housekeeping. So there's a lot of reorientation that need to go around there. And we also know that there have been so many talk about, oh, should you keep your mom in the nursing home, or is he at home? It's not our culture. Actually, today somebody tagged me in a post on Instagram where a lady, I can actually read it out. So the guy put up that what is happening in Nigeria? Why are there no assisted living facilities in Nigeria? There are so many comments, and you can see so many home care agencies commenting under the post. And somebody tagged me and said, Adriel Care Link is doing something in this area. And then I was reading the comment. I took my time to read all the comments. And somebody said, I will never put my mom in a nursing home. I would rather leave her at home. Somebody said, but I'm not at home, then I need somebody to look after my parents. But I don't trust anybody to look after my parents. And another person said, there are no policies that will even protect the older people. Some people say there are no policies that will protect that will even kind of monitor and safeguard the caregivers. So what if anything happens? So I was reading the comment, and I'm still going to do a proper review of all the comments. And it really shows that in Nigeria and in Africa now, we still have different mentality about caring for older people. And it's okay, we have our culture, but when do we now move away from there? So in terms of statistics, we all know, I'm not going to bore us with statistics and research. Maybe I'll leave it to Dr. to talk about that, because that's our area. But in terms of statistics, we do know that WHO and other relevant bodies have confirmed that by 2050, the aging population will triple. And Nigeria, population and African population is also increasing. In fact, there are 9 million people in Nigeria are older people. That's from 65 years of age, if that is the age range that we are using in Nigeria. And 9 million people are actually old. And this is going to triple by 2050. So what are we doing to prepare for that? Another background is the issue of migration. You know, a lot of our healthcare professionals are migrating, family dynamics are changing. I'm in abroad, my mom is Nigeria, and so many things like that. Even within Nigeria, family children are no longer living with their parent the way it used to be. So, and the whole care burden now leaves to the family who are burnt out now. So, where do we take this conversation to, and how can we then redefine care to make sure that older people have quality care and they we can meet their need, and we are not leaving them in that, you know, in quotes, well, you're old, and then the next thing is death sentence, like it's a death sentence. So this conversation is going to be very interesting, like I said, and we're just going to be having like questions. How do we go about this? Please, can we all hear me? Can I see somebody in the chat if you can all
Yes,
hear me?
yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to start first with, I think before I bring in our guests, I want to hear, let's hear from Mrs. Oluremi. We just want to talk about, as a care coordinator, what is care in the context of Nigeria? What is care? It's just a simple conversation because we need to know what is care in the context of Nigeria.
Thank you very much for that question. Yeah, when people talk about care, the first thing that comes to mind is caring for someone that is sick. But that's not the case. No, that should be the case alone. Caring is giving support, whether you are sick or not. Anything you do to give support that would improve the quality of life of anybody, that can improve the emotional, the psychological, physical, emotional, and social quality of life. Any support you give to improve this is care. And it goes along with this. There's a lot of things you can do to care for, even emotionally, especially the older ones. Listening to them alone is a lot of care. Validating them, making them feel still important, it's a lot of support, and that to me is care. Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know
thank you
if I
very much.
answered.
Yes,
You want me
yes.
to expand?
No, so in specifically for older people now, you know, how can we, or let me just say, what does it mean? If I ask another person, I know we have an older person here, of course. I'm not an ageist, but I don't know the age of Dr. If you're over 60 or over 65, but what does it mean? How do I know that I'm being cared for? That's the kind of, you know,
Okay.
yeah, in the perspective of older people, what is care
Okay.
for them?
Now, when we're going to focusing on the older ones, care to older people means paying attention, planning for them, staying around them, asking to know, assess their needs, and taking care of those needs, not waiting till everything falls apart before their needs are met. Care for older people is listening, giving them emotional support, not just financial support. Some of us just throw money, we just send monthly to our older ones, but we are never there to listen to them. We are never there to know how they feel. We don't. If we are so much in a hurry to listen to them. Most of the time, older people, I discover they want to talk. They talk a lot, and at times they can tell you what they told you before and what we need to do at that point. Then, like, you are just hearing it for the first time, and listen. So for me, that is care. Meeting them emotionally, validating their needs, and helping them. We also note their weaknesses, because as people age, there are weaknesses that we need to note. We need to support, we need to be conscious of the fact that their bones are not as strong as it used to be.
Yeah.
Their memories might not be as good as it used to be. Some might have health challenges that we need to be, bear in mind. Some might be hypertensive, some raised blood sugar and all that. So caring for them means assessing their needs and try as much as possible to plan not waiting for an emergency to happen before these needs are met. For me, that's care for the older ones.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. I think that's very brilliant. And those who are listening on YouTube, they can hear. If you can hear what our speakers are saying, maybe you just put a comment there in the chat box there. So let me bring it back. Let me bring it to Dr. Grace in terms of, and I'm still coming back to you, Miss Awe. In terms of caring, you are in the UK, and I'm sure you've worked across care of the other person. So, what is care to you, and what do you think is the notion of care and the attitude of care to other people where you are in comparison to what you know of it or for in Nigeria? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for this privilege. Yes, caring as is being analyzed is just meeting the needs of our older adults. And when it come to the times of comparison and all that, we have, of course, a wide yardstick to measure, and the gap is quite obvious because we know of advanced country compared to the developing world and what obtains there. But well, I would just say in a nutshell that in advanced country we have comprehensive geriatric assessment, and we've got other tools that helps to meet individualized to make individualized need of every older adult. And so there are policies in place, there are structures in place, there are functional activities that help the older adults, to function well and to enjoy their later part of life. So it promotes healthy aging for them. And we know back home as well, we love a lot of paperwork. There are a lot of policies as well. We have a lot of them. And I'm sure Dr. Omakara is here. I'm glad she's here today to make this program. So we have a lot of paperwork in place and other things, that are always there, seated. But when it comes to implementation, that's where the problem is. And also we have the cultural aspect where, just as you have analyzed before, when it comes to caring, we're being careful of institutionalized care for our older adults because to feel that's tagging them in a wrong, perspective. And we have the ages as well. When it comes to older adults, to some people, it's like when you talk about aging, it's a problem. They think it's a problem, and they think I just don't want to go into that aspect because it's a lot of troubles and all that. So this should not be. And so when we talk about care in a nutshell, it should be about giving them the best of care, the optimal functioning that they could attain at that age. Because these people have really put in their best when it comes to the service year and all of those things. Example, even what the pensioners go through, back home and all of that. So when you talk of comparison, because there's no basis for comparison, we just have to, draw that line to bring people into the right perspective of how we need to give these people so much of what they need. So that's why we have the comprehensive geriatric assessment and other tools that measures how best individualized care could be given to every older adult and not just one size fits all. So there are other, I just sum it up into three major aspects. You have the physiological, we have the pathological, looking at the health issue, and then we have the psychosocial aspect of care. So it's a comprehensive thing, not just taking one, and you don't have to wait till it's illness time. You don't have to wait until there are other things that degenerate before we go into the aspect of giving the wholesome care. So it's a holistic approach when it comes to caring for older adults.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I think we've all established that it's important to care for other people, and why it is important because of the different changes that come their way, and they are growing old. They were very active, and I'll just say a quick story, and I always share this, and I'm sure if my mom is hearing this now, she'll say, "There you go again." So when I moved to Ireland 2017, and I haven't been to Nigeria for a long time until November. I think 8 years until November last year before I went back to Nigeria. In between that, we had a bereavement. My sister was late, and then I had to bring my mom over because she was actually depressed. But when she got to Ireland, it was as if I don't know this woman any longer, because she had grown older, like times 10 of what I used, just with the space of 3 or 4 years. With the incident that happened, it just like she just grew older times, plus 10 years. And I struggled to even accept the fact that this is my mom, that she's no longer as active as before. You know, when she said, Yinka, let me bring that, and I was like, Mommy, you can go. Like, I will feel like you used to be able to do this. But then it's clicked to me later that she's now older. She's no longer the active woman that I used to know. And I did struggle, even though I'm a nurse. I did struggle that I was not there, like I could not provide the care. So there are two different things. You can care about somebody, but you might not know how to care for them. So this is the kind of care we are talking about. The how to care for the other people in their vulnerability, knowing that these people used to be very active. So sometimes they can even struggle, even though they need your support, but they still say, I can do it. Meanwhile, they can't do it, or they're at risk of other maybe fall or other things if they do it. So it's really important that we have this conversation, and I really love the direction that this is going. So I think at this point, I'm going to bring in our guests because it's important. We've been talking everything about Nigeria without the people that are actually running the aging care in Nigeria. So before I introduce properly our next guests, let me just talk about policy. We'll talk about policy. We'll talk about quality assurance framework, because if there is no framework, if there is no policy, if there is no communication, if there are no carers, caregivers, people, professionals in the, then there's nothing to do. Families also need to be involved. Do we have a system in place that can put all of these things together? So in that note, I'm going to invite Dr. Omakaro. So let me do a proper introduction. I know Benedict tried, but no, I'm not taking that. So Dr. Omakaro served as the pioneer Director General of the National Senior Citizen between 2021 and 2025. And if you don't know, National Senior Citizen Center, that's the first federal agency dedicated to senior citizens in Nigeria. That's the first. And I was really glad when I saw this 2021. Because that was the year Respo Health started. So Adriel Care Link started as Respo Health Africa, an NGO. So when I saw that, I was so happy. I think I sent some emails to their emails at that time. Under our leadership, Nigeria has operationalized the national policy on aging. I'm sure you've not heard this before. You're hearing it from me. So, okay, clock it. All right. So Nigeria has operationalized the national policy on aging. They have developed the National Plan of Action on Aging. Nigeria also created a 10-year national strategic roadmap under our leadership. At the same time, they developed national policy guidelines for quality assurance in geriatric social care. Also developed the national operation. I've not heard some of these before, so I'm just like you. And so many other things. So I'm going to let her do a lot of justice to that. I should be speaking to us on building care systems brick by brick. We're talking about care, especially in terms of policy, standards, and workforce development in Nigeria. So Dr. Mokaro, thank you so much for joining us today, even the shortest notice, less than 12 hours. And you're here with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'd like to thank Adriel and Adriel Kerling and the team. My appreciation to you, Dr. Remo. Grace, we have connected on the social media platform, and I think we were to have a short meeting, but I never got to it. As I speak to you now, I'm not even in Nigeria, I'm somewhere. So I'm really, really glad. It always excites me when I see people who are not government, but are committed and dedicated to, contributing to changing the system. It always excites me also when I see Nigerians. I'm sorry that I didn't know about you, because when we were doing all those stakeholder meeting, expert meetings, and drafting documentation and validation, I wish I knew you, because we brought so many Nigerians from the diaspora. Anywhere I found any Nigerian in geriatrics, gerontology, I made sure that I dragged them. And they came to join us. I want to say that my journey, just give you a bit of the background. My journey into gerontology was just by the dots connecting. It was just by God's design. I never set out to say I'm going to really focus all my life on aging and issues of older person. But that's what it has turned out to be. I was just confronted by a situation where I went to visit a friend's parents. This my friend had been abroad and couldn't get back home. So I had visited New York, and she begged me, not now that social media is open, you can FaceTime and all that. It was back in the days. And only for me to get to this very rural area, and I found this man who used to be a wealthy person and who you would have thought at this time, and who had children that he had trained. I think 7 of them were graduates at that time. But I met both the mother and the father in a situation that broke my heart. And I started questioning, where is the family that everybody believes a family can care? And then I asked, what is the emergency response situation in this village? Not even a primary health care center. And so what happens? And I had to, get back to my city, then come back 2 days after. It's a very long distance to take that old man to where I lived for medical checkup. And I returned him after 2 weeks and picked the mother as well back to Calabar where I lived. So that would not leave my heart because I kept now asking, so how come we believe so much in family care, extended family care? Nobody has interrogated the strength of family to care. And that would lead me to picking a topic for my doctoral thesis, which is the non-cultural determinants of adult children care of older persons. So I held the cultural aspects constant because we all believe not in norms of reciprocity. Because your mother took care of you, parents took care of you, so it's your turn. It's a role obligation actually. And we believe in the family as an institution traditionally. So the cultural, the social, the spiritual, when it comes to the traditional aspects, I just held them constant. And so let's begin to interrogate the strength of family to care. Because we believe because family is there, family should care, does not mean family can care.
Yeah.
And so that would lead me to that dissertation, which now came and had a national doctoral thesis, Nigerian doctoral thesis award from the National University School. Anyway, that's where the journey started. And so my background is that I have come from the background of lived experience, come from the background of research, and then come from the background of education, because I said that's a visiting scholar to the National Universities Commission, but they gave me a grant for postdoctoral certificate in social gerontology. So I came back and I manned that desk to sensitize the university system, federal university system, in considering gerontology as a course of study in Nigeria. So I was there for 4 years as visiting scholar, as lead scholar. And we're able to develop a national benchmark and minimum standards in applied gerontology. And some universities picked that up and this was from the graduate level, postdoctoral level, not from the undergraduate level. So some universities are offering that course now. So moving from there, of course, I run the Democracy Foundation and then continued there into advocacy, serious advocacy. So I come from the background of research, education, curriculum development, and serious advocacy, even leading to the legislation that set up the National Senior Citizen Center. And then I come from that background also of the policy. And so coming into the National Senior Citizen Center, I already had this lived experience from all this background. And what confronted me was immediately to set out a framework, a direction, policy articulation, a comprehensiveness, connecting all the sectors, because people still had this traditional notion about aging. When they assume that they know about care, like you said, everybody knows about care because they care. They don't know the complexity, how complex care is, because it's not only multidisciplinary, it is multi-sectoral, and it thrives on collaboration and it thrives on coordination. And so, to just cut this long story, so my sitting as the Director General of the National Senior Citizen Center, when it came to care, I just saw that We just had to go and start from the beginning. Luckily, when I had the opportunity to develop the National Plan of Action on Aging, I was also given that opportunity to integrate that into the National Development Plan, that is the country's national, which was for the first time in Nigeria where you had issues of older persons integrated into the National Development Plan. And one of the programs that we operationalized from the national policy was developing a quality assurance system that will enable care as a skill and enable the training and education of caregivers, enable accreditation of training providers, and enable an awarding body to award the certificates. And so, as I speak to you now, that was integrated in the National Development Plan of 2021 to 2025, started under President Buhari. And so, in now operationalizing and bringing this in to become a program, first and foremost, we had to get all the stakeholders. For as I speak to you now, I have platforms of many stakeholders, domiciliary care, operating in Nigeria, those ones operating any kind of care facilities, because we work with so many of them. Gerontology Association of Nigeria, Geriatrics Association of Nigeria, like I told you, so many, and older persons themselves, Association of Older Persons themselves, those working in the field of dementia, and so on and so forth. And so to do that, that to develop the geriatric social care quality assurance system, first and foremost, we must recognize that care is a skill. As you have now in Nigeria, everybody's in the area of this field of care. And I always come from the standpoint of appreciation. Appreciating that when the government could not get up to do what the government needed to do, to bring the policy and bring the framework, there were individuals who saw the need, who had the passion, who, created their own, corner, and they were doing what they needed to do. And those individuals still exist today.
Yeah.
And so, first and foremost, we had to recognize that there is an existing regulatory body for vocational and skills education. And that is the National Board for Technical Education. And so we entered into a memorandum of understanding with NBT, because you see, you must be careful in government, because different institutions and agencies are set up with their statutory mandate. And then here is the National Senior Citizen Center, set up to focus on improving the quality of life and well-being of older persons. And there's no way you can do that without talking about health, because even the NSCC Act that sets up, the agency describes, the different functions, which includes develop health programs, opportunities for training for older persons to continue to train, social programs, and so many things like that. And so anybody who has a statutory mandate in any other field will see you as an interloper or a trespasser. A territorial, fields like that. So we now mapped and identified all the agencies that we needed to partner with. One of them was the National Board for Technical Education, the Federal Ministry of Health, the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, because we're looking at continuum of care services, linking just care, whether it's domiciliary care, to primary care, to community extension services, so on and so on. And so to cut this short, so working with the Board of Technical Education, we're able to integrate care as a skill. Care was accepted as a skill in Nigeria, integrated into the National Quality Assurance Framework, which already exists for other skills like tourism, hospitality, carpentry, engineering, and all that. So for the first time, care was now recognized in that category as a skill. And so we're able to create the Geriatric Social Care Council, the Geriatric Social Care Skills Council, because it has a framework. You must identify training providers, and they must be accredited. You must identify the awarding body. Then, of course, you must have a council. The regulatory body is the NBTE. And so, with NBTE and all the stakeholders, of course, for there to be training, there has to be a national occupational standard. Nigeria never had a national occupational standards. So people were just creating their own curriculum and training in their corners and sending all manners of caregivers. There was not a national standard for training. So right now, Nigeria has a national occupational standard, levels 1 to 5. And it was drafted by as many people as I could bring in. And of course, NBTE had to, of course, format it in a technical way where you have the quality assurance assessors going skill by skill to ensure that, in fact, it can operate. Whoever is certified can perform, because it's performance now, can perform in a workplace. And so that was done. And of course, for us now to work with those who were operating domiciliary care, those upscaling them, those who were, of course, running respite facilities, whatever the facilities, residential facilities and all, we now, of course, had to develop what we call a national policy guidelines for quality assurance in geriatric social care for identified care settings, because we identified care settings. And I want to say that, of course, the most acceptable care setting after the assessment that we did was, of course, aging at home, aging in place. Nigerians want to, grow in their community. Aging, whether we like it or not, is still cultural, social, and spiritual. Like you talked about your mom, I'm sure at some point she must have started worrying you and saying, take me back home, because that's where her church is, that's where her fellowship is. And so we really focused on developing these national policy guidelines. And then, of course, the standard operating procedures. So we can have a standard. People had been doing different things, states had been doing different things, but can they be a national standard? So those things were not only developed, they were published. In fact, I'm going to send you the soft copies and give you access to all those things that were done. And then we went ahead for us to be able to accredit the training providers. We worked very closely with not just the stakeholders, not just the professional associations, but we now brought in university teaching hospitals who had geriatric units, even the geriatric centers. We used their consultants, and we were able, all of us, to develop national benchmark and minimum standards, in accreditation of training providers. And of course, the NBTE already had their own, standards for accrediting care providers. But of course, this was geriatric social care, and it's not something that was, given in Nigeria. This was an emerging sector, and so we now had to develop and align with the standards in NBTE and to develop the national benchmark and minimum standards. And I want to tell you that they often say in Nigeria, yes, we are good in policies, but what about the implementation? I want to tell you that it was very difficult to navigate, to bring something about older persons that are really marginalized in Nigeria. I will not even go into the area of ageism and the struggle for budgeting, and even the struggle to get some of these programs that we knew in Nigeria accepted. But I want to tell you that even in that tough terrain, we were really able to implement. And how did we do this? First and foremost, for us to accredit training providers, which the first set that we picked were university teaching hospitals who already had geriatric units and geriatric centers, who already had this multidisciplinary faculty, and of course, who already had the experience, and of course, the older persons, that will go there, that we could use and set as a standard, as our pilot. And so we worked with them and then worked with NBT, and there's a company that is called Skills Nigeria Limited, working with NBT, to ensure that the training providers will have good members of their team that will possess the quality assurance assessors certification. Because this was not just teaching, as you know, this is training, this is skills. And this has to be assessed, whether whoever is certified can perform. Absolutely. And so for us to have university teaching hospitals, and I can name, submit themselves, these are already people that are consultants, professors, and all that, who are in this team, to coming for the training to get their certification as geriatric social care assessors for the first time in Nigeria. So that was done. 11 weeks training, serious training, field work. And so we implemented that. We were able to get many universities, top of them, University of Benin Teaching Hospital, University of Uyo Teaching Hospital, University of Calabar Teaching Hospital, Bauchi was there, Kefi, Nasarawa State, Kefi Medical Center, and so on and so forth. So as I speak to you now, going through all these processes, we had last year the very first set of NSQ and qualified, certified caregivers in Nigeria trained, certified by the University of Benin Teaching Hospital.
Yeah, I think I saw the news, yeah.
You saw the news. So we worked very hard to pilot one, because it was not easy to get even the teaching hospital to see that as priority. Prioritizing care is very difficult in Nigeria. Because they'll tell you, what are we doing there when we have youths? We want to create employment. So linking care to employment was what gave me that access. Because when people talk about care and redefining care in Africa, I want to beg you that let's not just see care as care. Oh, support, services, to aid somebody to be independent, be dignified and all that. No, it's much more than that. Care is complex because inside that care system, what I call the quality assurance system, you have employment creation. Because look at the number of girls and women that have been certified. Care before now is invisible. And people are underpaid, some not even paid, exploited. That's what care is.
Yeah.
They carry the burden that allows others to go and become economically productive in the different spheres. They are the ones at home giving the care. Whereas they do that, they are not recognized. So the policy we articulated all this, brought the complex issues. We really have to emphasize the fact that we are developing skilled workforce, which is going to be intergenerational.
Yeah.
That we are creating employment, that we are contributing to the economy. So care is not care, it's a care economy. So that's how we redefined it. And so when we are pushing for budget, pushing for support, then I want to tell you something that was a bit sad, but it's okay because it worked out for good. Having developed all this framework, this social development framework, and bring all the sectors together and, piloting and seeing some fruits coming. And then I tell you, I was supported by the UN also to train and, upskill domiciliary care operators. We had like 2 workshops and all that. And I was really thinking about now coming to focus on them and then getting them to get the standard operating procedures and getting their registration for accreditation when my 4 years finished and I was not reappointed. And so care has to be linked with time use. Talked about the time use.
Yeah.
Luckily, NBS, brought out the first ever time use survey in Nigeria. And because of that time use survey, they were able to see many man hours that women and girls are putting into care, unrecognized. They were able to see the infrastructure that care provides for the entire country. People who are the cleaners, who are the ones who go to fetch water, and so on and so forth, then caregivers at home. And so redefining care in Africa, first and foremost, means where are the gaps? Where are those tensions and where are the challenges? I touched on them when I was telling you how difficult it was for me to navigate this.
Yeah.
The gaps, there's no data. You talked about data. I had to sit down with MBS. That was my second office. For them to disaggregate their national surveys. And we're able to get the number of about 3 million older persons, 2 million older persons, frequent the hospitals because of non-communicable diseases, because of multimorbidities.
Yeah.
And most of these people also delay because of the distance and the complexities in navigating this care. And because of that, therefore, you see increasing rate of disabilities amongst them. So that tells you that care is the future.
It is.
There are so many increasing incidents of impairment for older persons, but they can't access care early, and so on and so forth. So we have those statistics, and we work with those statistics. We started advocating for the government to not just see only the geriatric care, but for the government to bring, child care and let us and care for persons with disability, and let's have an overarching policy. I'm happy to announce to you that that is going on now.
Oh, great.
Yes, it is. The National Federal Minister of Budget and National Planning is now coordinating the drafting of a national care policy for Nigeria for the first time. And I want to say that the UN Women has really supported, the development of all these frameworks that I developed in geriatrics. They picked up that framework and then replicated for childcare. And so in my advocacy, anytime they called me to come and speak about, to come and tell them how I went brick by brick to do those things, I will always advocate. You cannot now pick from what I have done and then marginalize all the people. I know that you don't care too much about funding things in geriatric care, but you should have an overarching national policy on care, and that is going on right now. And my joy is that apart from the national, I always pushed to the sub-nationals. And I want to tell you that the advocacy that we mounted for states to domesticate the National Senior Citizen Center Act, because everybody cannot be looking at the federal government.
Yeah.
We have a tier system of government. I want to tell you that a few states have domesticated the act, and a few states now cascaded the NSCC care economy framework, and then they are running with it. A good case is Akwa Ibom State. Akwa Ibom said this March they are going to commission their geriatric center. The geriatric center is a complex which has the recreation aspects like a senior citizen center, and there has a clinical aspect. And then because the University of Calabar, the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital, was accredited as a training provider and had been training, the government now sent, indigenes there to be trained and certified. So they're already building the workforce for that center that they are going to commission. And then another thing that we pushed was also for, retired nurses.
Yeah.
To come back into and be accredited so that they can be the ones, to own these domiciliary care agencies. And then we also push for the primary care development agencies to please train the tools, insert geriatric social care assessment, the curriculum, some part of the national occupational standards into their curriculum, so that they will not enter the community as extension service officers. For mother and child, they will also enter for the geriatric, for the older persons as well. So everything is integrated. I go back again, for us to redefine Africa, care in Africa, we must build the systems. We must recognize the integration of sectors. And then we must recognize that care is an economy where African leaders are looking for employment of youth. They should look at care because it's an industry.
Yeah.
And so I want to end making all of us, appealing that all of us continue to be advocates, to push that, yes, when we create the quality assurance systems, we are creating employment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I want to say that Kenya also has developed a national policy on care.
Okay.
Because I work at these countries. And I would like to stop there and thank you for giving me this.
Oh my God, please, thank you. Let's appreciate Dr. Omokaro. Everyone is listening to you from YouTube, but we're also live on Instagram. There are a lot of things, a lot of gems that you have shared with us today, and I'm really glad to hear this directly from you. And I think there's a lot of learnings we can take from that it just requires leadership. All of the things that you just shared with us, all the development that had happened or that is happening in aging care, in care economy in Nigeria, requires someone to take the lead, somebody who has experience, who has the passion to take the lead. And you did that. So thank you so much. I think we'll just pause and say thank you very much for that leadership, because it could be very overwhelming. Like you mentioned stuff about the ageism, even in terms of the government buying into the policies or the recommendations that you have put forward. So I can imagine the policies that must have been played in that area. So thank you for your leadership. Speaking especially, and I'm going to bring in, if you have any question of our listeners from any of the channels, please put it down. If you have it directly for myself or for Dr. MM, you can put it. in the chat box and we will ask her. I don't want to keep her too long, but I know she's happy to stay with us today, right, ma'am? I just want to bring in my other colleagues and take a cue from. I'm going to be referring to some of the things that you have said. God help my memory. I don't have dementia yet. All right, so let's start with professionalizing care. And you talked about some institutions already adopting, the policies, and they're already accrediting and certifying people, to be professionals. And I think that's really fundamental. When I got in Ireland here and most Western parts, it's if you want to care, if you want to do a care job. In fact, the care job is like the easiest way to get into the labor market in a way. Like if you want to work, get a quick job, it's the care job. But that doesn't mean that anybody could train, because there are frameworks, there are structure, there are policies, there are accreditations. Like everyone that is offering it needs to be accredited. So it's good to have that structure. And I think what is also important is people knowing that these things exist. And if I want to get trained as a caregiver, where can I go? What institutions can I go? Which hospitals, which organizations offer this training for caregiving, right? So those are the things that I think would be very important for people to know and have out there handy, right? One thing that we are very focused on in Adriel Care Link is service integration. So we are an integrated care platform. We run digital now, and we just want to connect the dots. We are not reinventing the wheel. We want to know what services exist now, and then link up other people to those services. And where the services are not available, then we can make provision for that. Our primary aim is that older people have access to quality health services that is responsive to their need. So I know Mrs. Oluremi is a trainer, and she trains for caregivers. So we really like to hear from her about people's attitude towards getting trained. Because I know in the last 5 years with the Japa syndrome, most people go into caregiver training because they want to Japa, using it as a stepping stone because they know it's really needed out there. So it's not even meeting the local need of the older people. So what's your experience there, Oluremi? If you want to share, and you've been training, what's the retention rates? Can you, yeah, go ahead. Okay.
So I'm mute before now, but it's okay now. Thank you very much for that question. Yeah, so for 2 years now, we started running a training program in Lagos State University Teaching Hospital Lasuth, and discovered that most people that came for this training came actually because they wanted an opportunity to leave the country. Taking statistics of most of our students, if you interview them, the caliber of people that actually came for the program, you will know actually that these ones are not here to stay. They are not ready to, do the caregiving job here in Nigeria. They all just wanted to, for them it's an avenue to leave the country. But I'm hoping that this will change gradually. I'm hoping that more people will begin, because in the course of the training, a lot of people are beginning to develop interest, even though they didn't come into the training for that purpose. But over time, we see that people are now, getting to know that yes, they can actually work with it even here in Nigeria. If only they will be well paid. The challenge here is in this country, people have loved to work with it, but caregivers in Nigeria are underpaid. Until we begin to create awareness that we should professionalize care in Nigeria and do it well, instead of depending on family members or depending on your children that might not even have that time for you.
Yeah.
We should create more awareness for just like Dr. Emmett said, that it should be professionalized so that it can be done properly. And I'm hoping we'll get there. Going abroad is not as easy as it used to be, so that might work to our advantage. We've trained about 4 sets now, and we still have a lot of them here in Nigeria. We are hoping that they'll become productive. And I also know that Age-Well Care Link, we are also thinking along that line. We are thinking of training more people. We know we have good curriculum, and with what Dr. MS said, we are going to look at what she has as well, as how we can incorporate into what we already have to, train professionals that can give care, to this aging population. Because from statistics, we know the population of aged people is going to increase.
Yeah.
With increase in expectancy, it's definitely going to increase, and there'll be a great need for professional caregivers.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll still keep you for a few minutes there. If you have any question, please drop it in from YouTube, Instagram, or right here on Zoom. Just put it in the chat box there. Just talking about what you're saying, and then referring back to what Dr. Nel, that care is a system. It is not just a one-time action. And it's very interesting that people want to get the skill, but don't want to localize it and practice it right there in Nigeria. For instance, since we launched, we've been looking out for caregivers. There was a time we had a lot of interest of clients looking for caregivers, but then we didn't have any caregiver in that location, and most people that were available were not trained. And that was one of the reasons why we said, okay, we are now going to be offering training. So I was really happy because I was also very concerned that we don't want to start from scratch. If there's something existing, there's a curriculum, how do we even get properly registered, accredited to provide the training? Because I'm sure and I'm aware of so many people doing trainings in Nigeria, and people are just taking that to travel out. So it's very... Are you going to... Okay, I thought somebody was saying that. To professionalize care so that it's not exploited, how do we train people how do we encourage people to get trained, right? We have housemaid, we have all, different people acting the role, but how do we really encourage them to get trained in caregiving, to see it as another employment opportunity, right? Rather than going to org or going to do several other things, that you can actually get trained as a caregiver and work. I know that the salary we're talking about, but this is all about framework. So when it comes to expectation of how much to get paid, what's the dynamics? What do we have now in Nigeria in that area? Somebody was asking, will I be paid transport if I'm going to the older person? And another issue that happened again is the caregiver saying, will they give me food to eat when I'm in the house looking after them? So these are the things we need to start talking about. So from your experience training, I know you said most of them are Japan. Your interaction with the caregivers that are being trained, what do you think we should be doing now exactly? In order to get more people to get trained? And maybe Dr. NM might want to contribute that, but let me start with you, Nosodem.
Thank you. I think first we need to categorize the trainers. We have some that are graduates, we have some that are professionals, we have trainers that will probably give support in the area of activities of daily living. So if first is to categorize and look at how the training definitely won't be the same. Because if you are going to go, if you are a nurse is also a caregiver. There are situations where a nurse will be needed to be a caregiver. The physiotherapists, the nutritionists, the doctors, we all give care. But when we talk about care, most of the time we refer to those that are not don't have any other qualification apart from that of the training to give care, to assist in activities of daily living. So once we're able to differentiate this, and then we should encourage good
Pay.
salary.
Minimum,
Yes.
minimum wages.
The minimum is I think 70 now, and the 70 we know in Nigeria of today can't really take people far. Even the house help that people get right now in my area don't get anything less than 70. So at least if we should be looking at that, and I believe if that is done, it will encourage more people who want to secure job opportunity to begin to look into it, especially those that are passionate about giving care. And it will begin to take people's mind away from traveling, because the whole essence of traveling is to get a better life. And if you know you can get that better life here in Nigeria, you can work in 2-3 places. If you are not a resident caregiver, then you can begin to build a portfolio for yourself, and you can begin to do well. So we need to advocate more, talk more about professionalizing care, so that our aged ones, our old ones will get better care. We don't have to wait for until there's an emergency to care for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We should let them know that caregiving is not slavery and is not suffering. They are not going to suffer. So it's actually a skill, and it's something that we will all grow into. Every one of us, we're going to grow old anyways. So if we don't invest in that care economy, and I'm going to let Dr. NM come in here about the training. Maybe you want to answer some of the questions I asked, ma'am.
I want to say that the development of the quality assurance system, geriatric social care, has answered all these questions that you ask. Before now, it used to be, what do I do here? Who does what here? What's the basic level? What do I train here? Who's trained? No, it's standardized now. It is standardized. For 3 years, that's what we focused on that for 3 years. Now, the National Occupational Standard that I told you, what they call curriculum in the academic sphere, right? Because this is education and skills, is the occupational standard. Past levels, the ones we're able to develop, levels 1 to 5. The level 5 is a high level that I think the designation is technician, geriatric social care technician.
Yeah.
And if you look at that curriculum, it is so detailed. And anybody who even is certified by unit, because you have an opportunity to be certified by units. So for instance, you enter for the level 1, and you cannot finish all the modules, the different levels. You can only finish one. Okay, let's say maybe use of assistive devices. I'm using this as an example. Use of assistive devices, assistive technology to aid the older person. And you are able to be certified in that unit. It means that you are certified in that unit, you have skills in that unit, and you can be employed using that unit. And what certification are we talking about? We are talking about the National Skills Qualification Certification, NSQ certificate, and it's global.
Yeah.
Because this is NSCC, NBTE, and NBTE Center of Excellence, working with, for instance, now UBTH. And this was the very first time that certification is given in Nigeria. And so it is not a case of, if this person is a graduate, we train the person here. If this person is not a graduate, we train the person here. It's the level you enter, you move from level 1 to 2 to 3, and then opportunity is given to prior learning experience. So for example, I told you about retired nurses coming to get the training. So they evaluate you on your prior learning, and they are able to place you where you can train. And I want to say here that NBTE also worked with me, with the agency while I was there, to integrate the NSQ certification into the federal government employment scheme. So it's recognized by the federal government, this qualification. So they can even work in the hospitals. And so this was a very beautiful system. Let me not say was, is, that was built brick by brick. And then we try to now cascade it to the states. And so if you can, I don't know if you can connect to the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, they can tell you how many caregivers they're turning out. And you start from, I think the basic level is 8 weeks. And then the next level is 12, you have 16 weeks and so on and so on. And before you can qualify as a training provider, you must have a good number of your team have the quality assurance assessor certification, because you must have internal assessors, just like you have abroad.
Yeah.
So So it's not anybody getting up to train. No. It's you being accredited to train. And so this is the only way you can bring professionalism into care. It's not anybody's setting. Even some universities that we're training, they forgot. PTH was training at one point, but when they saw the seriousness and they saw the complexity of the curriculum and the standardization, and then the kind of certification that is given, they immediately aligned with us. And that's the certificate they are saying with you. Saying, before I left, I had about 5 universities queued up for requesting accreditation. So that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
That it is the professionalism, and it is for us promoting the professionalism and then inculcating into, you should see the caregivers who are trained and during their graduation, when they are certified, you see them have, the kind of confidence they now have in caregiving. And then the next move was now to really upskill the domiciliary care agencies that could now, properly employ these caregivers. And the way I moved to do that was to ensure that I work with the state governments, like I do now at Kwaigo, now sponsoring their indigenes to go for this care and now providing employment for them in the geriatric center they have set up. So it's a whole integrated thing before we can now have, individuals noticing how professional these things have become.
Thank you so much, and I'm really delighted to hear all of these. And this is what we want at Adria CareLink. We want to know what exists. But I just wonder, talking about retired nurses, which you mentioned. Yes, I had 2 different meetings now with retired nurses in Nigeria. I had one, the West African Fellowship, Nurses Fellowship, and I had a meeting with them, and they're also showing interest. And the one in Ondo State, the nurses, I through the director of nursing in Ondo State, we just had, I think 2 weeks ago, and they're showing interest as well. Like, what else can they do? Now they have got it. They also want to key into the care economy and how they can also bring in their expertise. So that's number one. Then secondly, it's good that we know that there are policies and we have the standard and people can train. But I also wonder about monitoring, right? I know there's a lot of issue, even with nursing that is a long-standing, profession. We still have quackery and people just training people just out of greediness. We have a lot of care agencies. They'll say home care. We also train just because they want to get people in. So I wonder if there is a system in place to checkmate as well, regulatory in such way, and monitoring to be sure that anybody is not just training. Because if I don't know, I don't know, most people here, I can hear from YouTube, they're all saying, wow. Maybe they're just hearing all of this for the first time. And maybe tomorrow I just advertise, I'm training. People will come to me because they don't know. And they'll paid, they get a certificate that they might still use it abroad, because what is that regulatory framework on ground now? And how can people really trust? Because that's one of the comments that I got on Instagram, that we can't trust anybody. We can't trust anybody to come and care for my mom or my dad in our house. So there's still that culture of lack of trust because there's no proper regulation when it comes to training of caregivers. So maybe Dr. If you have something for us there, we will take everything. And honestly, we would like to have, if there's a way we can assess the curriculum as well, to see what is there. And what we want to do later on, we're going to be, I'll talk more about service mapping. We want to have that service mapping done so people know where to go. If you come on ADRA Care Link, you will see, oh, I need this. This is where you go. I need that. This is where you go, because we are a care coordination platform. That is what we do. So maybe you want to answer that quick one, and I'll come to Dr. Grace. Okay, yeah, you can speak now.
All right, thank you very much. And now I want to let it be known that I finished my 4-year tenure and I left. So I'm no longer a sitting director general. I used the 4 years to, really, before it was such a rush, to just lay the foundation that I knew I wanted to lay. So I cannot speak for the present time. I don't know what their priorities are. They have a right to have their priorities. But I do know that NBTE was so committed. Don't forget that the training and certification is aligned to the National Skills Qualification Framework regulated by NBTE, because it's skills and vocational studies. But the curriculum was developed by we, the geriatric studentologists, and all the stakeholders, but formatted along the lines of skills qualification, so that it can meet the standards for that NSQ certification that you also have.
Yeah.
And so NBTE is there, and then the Skills Nigeria Limited is there, and then of course the NSCC is here. But what I cannot speak for now, and can't speak for where NSCC is at this point. But my joy is that I always refer my people to the universities that piloted and they are flying. They piloted that system. And God, the University of Benin Teaching Hospital is a fantastic example. They are training different batches and giving them tools. The University of Calabar, I told you, the University of Benin, I told you, University of Uyo, I told you, is now aligning with the state government, because that's actually the system I really was pushing to establish. How can I get these things to the states for them to know that this is a way of, developing employment, and they immediately catch it. And then this is also another way of living a legacy of giving social protection to seniors. Because before I left, I was even talking with National Health Insurance Scheme and WHO, of how state governments, even the federal government, can adopt care, domiciliary care at home for the older persons, and use this, geriatric social care quality assurance system that we have developed to cap, insurance, social care insurance for older persons at home. I was able to convince the governor, His Excellency of Akwa Ibom State, and he's looking in that direction, where you can train your indigents, upskill the domiciliary care agencies with retired nurses running them, and then you can use them as community extension services. And you're sure that in a week, at least twice a week, you have caregivers in the homes of older persons. What more legacy can you leave than that?
Absolutely.
And then you're paying for it, instead of just palliative care, giving them, 5,000 here. So you were talking about the retired nurses. I had gone, if I was talking to them, because I discovered that they don't have a National Association of Retired Nurses. So the FCT, Association of Retired Nurses, they were the ones I was talking with, and they were very excited, And we were in that corridor where I wanted, them to now, we create a class where they will be evaluated to see, using their pro knowledge, experience, at what level, their curriculum, their teaching work. But unfortunately, I left office. So I don't know what is happening now.
It's happening, we believe there will be continuation.
You talked about monitoring and evaluation. That is why you have the Geriatric Social Care Sector Skills Council. Actually, it's a whole framework. You have the regulator, NBTE, that is of the skills training, not of the geriatric social care industry, not the industry. And then you have the training providers as accredited, and then you have, of course, the awarding body, and now you have this council. So it is the council now that regulates the training. is a council now that looks at the industry and sees whether the curriculum, the national occupational standard, matches the need of the industry. So it's a council that sees that gap. But when it now comes to regulating the care that leaves the domiciliary care agency to the house, that's the one we're now building. That is the one we're now building. I had introduced, I had, really advocated and carried resources to the Federal Assembly, to the House of Representatives, to the committee that has oversight over my agency, asking them to begin the drafting of the regulation. There has to be legislation that will compel, those inspections and those compliance and all that. Yeah. So they have started work. They have promised me. We have identified the drafters and all that, but I left office. So I cannot tell you now what is happening now.
Yeah. We hope that the legacy that you have set will be, built upon in favor of the other people. And you've done. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Let me check if there are any questions directly to you, because we don't want to keep you too long as well. Yeah. Everybody is just saying, wow, insightful, wonderful, thoughtful, fantastic. So those are the feedback. There are no direct questions at the moment. So thank you so much, Dr.
I want to say that together we can continue to advocate for a care commission in Nigeria, my foundation. Because now we are drafting a national policy on care. Yeah. That policy should have oversight by a care commission, not sitting in one ministry. It should be a care commission that will integrate care for persons with disability, care for the child care and geriatric. Okay. So that's what we are advocating for. Then when you have that, you can really have the proper regulation backed by legislation.
Great. So what we have now are just policies, but we still need legislative backing. I think that's really important. And thank you so much. That will lead me to the area that I think, if we understand this aspect, that now care needs to be professionalized. Now let's bring it to the older people, because all the while we've been talking about professionals being trained. So that's why I'm coming to Dr. Grace here, who is our program and impact lead, especially as a nurse herself, and she had a degree, a PhD around the care of the older person. So one thing we do in ADRA is care need assessment. That's our entry point, because we believe that you can't care properly for somebody if you don't assess them. So what's your basis of caring? Do we even know what they need? And we know that from time, especially in Nigeria, that care, older people are always cared for, maybe in terms of crisis. Oh, she's sick, and then you rush her to the hospital, and we know what the outcome of all of this could be. Sometimes it's too late, right? So care should not start in crisis. It should start with planning. So we emphasize care need assessment, and we had adopted the comprehensive geriatric. I know, Dr. Grace, you mentioned it as well. The comprehensive geriatric assessment tool that we use, in this part of the world, and we also looked at what is obtainable globally. And this is what is in our system. So anybody could go in there and do an assessment, and then you have an automatically generated we have used AI, embedded AI, trained the AI as well to automatically generate a care plan. So I want you, Dr. Grace, if you want to shed more light on why we need a care plan, why every other person need a care plan. Their families, their children looking after them need to start thinking of, what plan do I have for the care of my older person? For those who are still very, maybe they are literate, or they are still very, I'm trying not to use the technical word, like they can still communicate, they still understand. As an older person, what's my care plan? What do I have to do? So from your experience, Dr. Grace, you want to share with us the importance of care planning for older people? Okay, mute. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was muted. Thank you so much for In fact, it's been a wonderful time, and I'm really, really impressed. And thank you, Dr. You've really shed more light into so many things, and that obtains back home. Yeah. So back to the need to prioritize care in terms of what's needed, and then especially about our older adults. And we've talked about it, and Dr. Emem also emphasized that. So for older adults, we don't work with assumption, because that's it. The trouble we have with many of us, or at least an average individual who has an older adult, is just, I want to cater for my parents, or I want to cater for my older ones. So it's just make provision, provide the finance. But some people go as far as employing staffs, for their older adults, but they work with the assumption that everything is fine, and not knowing the nitty-gritty of individualized care in terms of what they need and what they are going through at the moment. There's always an update, just like the CEO shared about her mom, 8 years ago, and it's that gradual decline in. So that's why we talk about the physiology of aging. We talk about the need to know it doesn't have to be pathological, yes, but there are things that there are benchmarks that goes gradually. There's a deteriorating aspects of aging that really needs to be matched with the immediate care. I mean, the immediate need of individuals. We talk of frailty, and that's we also have, we have tool that assess individual frailty. So we have the physiological, maybe someone who's been living in a story building, they are prone to fall, they are prone to so many things, they can't move around just like they used to do before. So all of those things put together, we have the physiological aspects, we have the pathological, just as there's so many comorbidities. We have the issue of polypharmacy, where many of them take drugs that perhaps was just meant for a few period of time, but because they had it from the hospital or they had it from even patent medicine stores, so they take all of that together and they take it for prolonged period. And most of the time, they are what we don't know what they are going through. They just know, they are fine. They've got the money. I'm sending everything they need to them, but we don't have the core information about. If you have ask an average individual now, it was even part of what I did in my postgraduate and my postdoctoral and my doctoral study, rather. I was talking about being informed about the core things, the core monitoring system that knows, when you have the care providers who help to check all of this, they have the records. They know when it's getting to the red mark, when there are red flags, and you know what to do, and you know to escalate. So, and that is what's the difference between where we are the parameters that we check regularly, like as people as blood pressure monitoring, and that's why one of our plan for in age well for now is to just biomarkers and keeping them in check over time, not just a one-off thing. So all of this we put together, to make sure that our older adults are enjoying the quality of life. So not essentially until they get to a bedridden state when now need to put everything together. By then you might not salvage anything at all. If anything at all, most times it becomes a complex case and you have to manage with extra, resources and so many things that that has to be put in place. So in that, we need to optimize all resources and be intentional about putting things together to have regular updates about what are the updates about their physical care, their nutrition, the frailty status, and everything. And you can't say because you did that last year, oh, they should be fine. It's assumed they should be fine now. It has to be an ongoing thing. And so that's where we talk about the care being planned and then ongoing regularly, with that you put your mind at rest that yes, you're giving the best of what you could. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grace. I think it's really important what you've just shared. And one thing that we're very particular um, on at Adria Care Link, we don't want to, myself and Dr. Grace, we are in this part of the world, Dr. Grace in the UK, I'm in Ireland, but we don't want to just bring in a practice here over. That's why we're kind of also linking in with existing services organization and see how we can tailor our services to be culturally accepted and culturally inclined as well. We are currently we have a project, a research going on. Maybe Dr. Grace, you want to talk more about that? Like we are co-designing our platform with older people, with caregivers themselves and families, so that it's not a borrowed technology, so to say, because we even know what people struggle with using digital services now, but we are trying to co-design to make sure that it is acceptable, it is available and accessible to the users. So very important to talk about care planning, and Dr. Grace has mentioned all of that. One thing I just want to say, maybe just to talk through the process of it. So if you either you are the daughter or the son, you want to sign up, or the other person themselves, you want to sign up on Adria Care Link, what happens? You come in, you put in your medical detail, your personal details, you just ask a few questions, personal details, and then you can take the free care need assessment. It is free. And like I said, we have put some tools there, some basic, just quick questions for you to answer. Why this matters is that caregiving is like we said, it's not professionalized to the level that it should be. So other people are at risk, families are anxious. So it is important that we assess the other people so we know the entry points. Like, so the assessment will help us to first of all understand what do they need, what health conditions or symptoms do they have, not only when they get to the hospital, not only when they collapse before we start rushing them, why they are still active, we can still assess them. What are the safety risks in their environment? Do we need to go do like a home assessment to make sure that their home environment is safe for them? What are their social needs? What are their own priorities? And the care plan, what it does is that it helps to turn the worry into action. So, like, what do they do weekly? What do we monitor? What support is needed? And when can we escalate? So, this is why this is very important. And the most important thing that we are doing with this is coordinating services. I keep on emphasizing that coordinating service because we are not reinventing the wheel. We are not going to come and start setting up home care. Somebody was tagging me about assisted residential facility, but that's not our our vision for now. Maybe in the future, like we said, we want to know the need of the other people, and then based on their need, then we can see, do they need a home visit? If they need home visits, what services are available? Where are the service providers available to provide home visits in terms of caregiver, nurse, doctor for these other persons? Then we link them up. Do they need air checks? Then we'll be looking for services like medical lab or diagnostic services in that location to link them to their services. Do they need linkage to hospitals? Then we'll be linking up with hospitals or services rehab around their location as well. So we use a geostatistic, feature on our app as well. So once you're signing up, you put your location, and then the service providers that have onboarded also have their location. So you'll be able to see the services within your vicinity. You will see the service providers. You can see the nurse nearest to you. You can see the doctors nearest to you. You can see a physiotherapist nearest to you, and so on. So just so we know that a care plan is not replacing family, it's just helping the family to support them more effectively. So thank you so much. I know that we've been here for a while now. I will look into the chat to see questions before we go into the other aspect. Somebody is asking from the YouTube that when is the next training? Right. I think there's somebody asking about training there. So we've talked about training. That's now you need to be on the lookout at which providers are accredited. Now we don't know how many. We know of some universities like Dr. NM has mentioned. But if you want to get trained, you need to do your due diligence, be on the lookout to get trained. So the trainings are available, but do your due diligence and get trained. At Adriel Care Link, we don't have an active training, but we are working towards that to start training. And Mrs. Awe Oluremi is it's on top of that as well. But when we are ready to start training, we'll let you know about that. Let me see if there are other questions. And there's a comment there saying, from my experience, outsourcing for home healthcare agency here in Nigeria through my company. Okay. That's from Ade Yinka Ayeni, MD Link Care Services. Caregivers are paid between 80K and above per month every 2 weeks or every 2 weeks, depending on the schedule. And nurses are paid 200K and above per month or splitted into 2 weekly. So that's just talking about the payments. So if you can get paid 80,000 in a month, you want to get trained. I think that's a fair price from my own perspective. So that's all we have at the moment. Dr. Emin, do you want to contribute? I saw you on mute your mic.
Hello?
Okay. Were you going to respond to one of the things I said?
No.
Okay.
I just want to take excuse. I need to leave now.
Okay.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And we will definitely be in touch with you again to get more information and more guidance and support as well, and probably some linkages to the stakeholders that we can also partner and work with. Thank you so much. Let's use our emoji and to appreciate Dr. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate. Thank you. All right, guys. We are going to be wrapping up shortly. All the while, we've been talking about how we can redefine care in Africa, starting in Nigeria. And we are so blessed to have the presence of some of our guests here, some of the key stakeholders as well in Adriel Care Link, Dr. Grace Farumbi and Mrs. Nurse Oluremi Awe. Yes, and I also have my team member, a digital communication manager, Benedict, here as well, and my humble self. So there's a question that just came up on YouTube. Is there a professional training platform in Abuja? So we don't have that answer because we are also trying to find out. And Dr. Emin just stepped out now. So, but one thing I would say is you can reach us, send us an email at adrielcarelink@gmail.com and we will get you that answer. Okay, so thank you. I want us to wrap up and talk about our next plan, the next thing or what we are building at Adriel Care Link, and we like to bring everyone, in the know of this. So you won't say that you don't know. Before I go, I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Grace. Thank you, Nurse Oluremi, for your insightful contribution. So to clarify and just to share what we do at Adriel Care Link and why you need to join us, either as a service user or as a service provider, individual or as an organization. We are an integrated care coordination and access platform, not just home care, not just nursing home. By the way, there was a time somebody was reaching out to us and looking for nursing home for their older person. So we can see that the need is actually there. People now need services for their older people. But the question is, where are these services and are they available? And that's where we step in. It's going to take time for us to build this network, but we are going to get there. So our mission is simple. When care is not available, we help families access support. Where services exist, we connect families to trusted providers. And our priority is access and prompt responsiveness. Like I said, we were usually, we were an NGO, and then it was Respirate Africa, and then it was just, that was the call, responsive healthcare. Not only when they fall sick, not only when it becomes an emergency, but even when they are ill and active, preventive care and safe care planning. So Adriel Care Link currently, what we do currently is we enable free care need assessment. So if you go on our app, adrielcarelink.com, you can get a free care need assessment for your older loved one and a personalized care plan. So what this helps you to do, will be able to know what services do they need. Then you can subscribe to any of our packages, which may include our basic one, regular monitoring, or you need some services as well. So please look it up. We also support families even in the diaspora. For those who are in the diaspora and you have your older loved one in Nigeria, we hope to expand to other African countries, but for now we are starting in Nigeria. Our next big move is a national service mapping. Like I said, we have an ongoing research that is going on, co-designing our platform with older people, healthcare professionals, and families, and we are getting feedback. So we will be welcoming your own feedback as well. Once you utilize our our service or our platform, just let us know what you think about it and how we can make this better for everyone. Now you know that care is a skill, care is an infrastructure. Care itself can be monetized, so you can actually get trained, professionalized. You can be a professional caregiver. It is not a slavery work. You're not an housemaid like we think. So you can definitely get trained, and this is what we are trying to emphasize. So for those who have been part of us today, you can take this message, you know, across and spread it as well. Why we want to do a service mapping across Nigeria, state by state, is because one of our biggest barrier so far is lack of visibility of existing services and fragmentation, right? Like somebody is asking, is there a professional training? So if we have a platform that you can just go to and type caregiver training, and then you can see the list of all those, wouldn't that be brilliant? So what we want to do, we want to map home care services, clinics, relevant community services, residential care options, rehab supports, all these that are available for older people. And you'll be on the lookout, just be on the lookout. Definitely when we roll this out, you will get to see. We'll be inviting yourself, service providers, either as an individual or organizations, healthcare professionals, families, diaspora network, including policy and system partners to collaborate with us as we roll out our mapping. So let's do a quick exercise. If you're right here, can you go, Benedict, can you type in, put in a link to our website there? If you have not signed up, is either you have, so is either you're an older person yourself, or you have a parent or an older loved one, so you can sign them up, or you're an healthcare professional and you want to come on board on Adriel Care Link so that you can provide services, paid services, not free, to our older person, to our clients. So please go on our website right away and sign up. There are 2 sessions. You can sign up either as a service user. So you're a service user if you're an older person yourself, or a family member of an older person. So you can help them to sign up. The other thing you will see is healthcare provider. If you're a nurse, doctor, caregiver, therapist, if you provide service for older people, you can sign up using that pathway. Put in your information, upload your documents, then you get verified. Make sure you put your location so you can be matched with our clients based on their location as well. And that's it. You start getting paid while you provide service for our older people. So we do really appreciate. If you still have any question for us, you can drop it in there. There are a lot of people on YouTube as well, and I'm looking at what you can see. I'm looking here and there. Okay. Benedict, can you drop the link? Yeah, thank you.
The link is up already.
Okay. So, and if you go on a website, there is a WhatsApp link directly, just in case you have any technical, challenges about how to navigate. you can always use the WhatsApp support link and we'll be there to support you. Dr. Grace, are you still here? Miss Oluremi, maybe give us a 1-minute wrap up, for everyone. A takeaway for everyone. Okay. You can unmute.
Thank you very much for that. So to wrap this up, I just want to appreciate all of you that showed up today. And I want to encourage you all to sign up. Caring for the older one is our priority. We shouldn't wait till it is emergency before we care for them. They need us more than, they need our care. The older ones need our care more than the money we can give to them or gifts. They need, and today we've come to also know that giving good care, we some of us might not be able to give this care adequately. You need professionals to help you do this. And that is where we step in. We can connect you to professionals that you can trust. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grace.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for participating in the program of today. We really enjoyed. I'm sure you had a good insight into caring for older adults. So please don't let us wait till it becomes an emergency. Let's be intentional about it. And I'm sure it's always, as it's been said, as you lay your bed, you will lie on it. We are also getting older, and we would more or less, it's not like a curse or anything. It's just like perhaps some would say karma. Let's give the best we can to our older adults when we still can. And then we would definitely have that rest of mind that we are also enjoying that in the nearest future. The world is aging. Get on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just appreciate everyone that has been part of us today. And you have stayed till this time. Thank you so much. I can see Grace Retiola. Thank you for joining. Philip Oladejo. Wow, thank you for joining. Maremi Olofinjano. I hope I got that correctly. Thank you for joining. So once again, if you haven't signed up on Adriel Kelly, make sure you do that. Either you're signing in yourself or you're signing up an older person on our platform. And you can also join us as a volunteer. So if you're passionate about caring for the older person, and you can join us as a volunteer. So also available on our website, there's a link where you can sign up as a volunteer and be part of what we do, because apart from the platform, we also run a lot of projects, outreaches in Nigeria for older people. So, and across the country, different states. So you can sign up and be part of what we are doing at Adriel Kelly. Follow us on all social media. We are on YouTube. Maybe let me call in Benedict. Benedict, over to you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. So you can follow us on social media. You can follow us on Instagram at Adriel_Kelly. That's on Instagram. And on Twitter, you can follow us at Adriel Kelly. Together, there's no spacing. Then all the other social media platforms like YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, you can always search for us, Adriel Kelly on LinkedIn. There's spacing in that. And we'd like to have you join us and follow up on our activities as we continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Benedict. On that note, we'll call it a day. Thank you for joining us. If you're registered, definitely you'll be hearing from us just for some feedback about this session. Thank you once again, Dr. Grace. Thank you, Ms. Oluremi. Thank you, Benedict. And thank you, everyone on YouTube. Thank you so much, Itunu. Thank you, Amaka. Unaime Kisley. Just recognize here, everyone. I might not be able to mention all the names, but thank you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Bye.